If you are going to drink, plan ahead. Just like you, okay, we're going to go to El Torito, we're going to have dinner, we're going to get drunk, okay, fine. Who's going to drive us home?
¿Y el señor que mató a su mamá lo está en la cárcel, lo sentenciaron o dónde está?
Es una señora y desgraciadamente costó $5,000 la vida de mi mamá. Ella está libre.
On that particular night, I made a mistake and got in my truck. Completely blacked out and decided to try to drive home. I ended up going the wrong way down the highway, directly into oncoming traffic. And I struck a car. I killed a man.
It is an extremely big loss. She blessed us all. Her smile would just brighten up a room whenever she came in the room. So I love her dearly and I miss her every day.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Mi nombre es Marcos Palma, bienvenido a Foro Más Latino, un programa donde fomentamos la cultura de la denuncia, sus denuncias, nuestras denuncias. Enviamos un saludo cordial a todos los rincones del país donde llegue nuestra señal a través de la cadena TVC Más Latino. Estamos próximos a lo que será la temporada decembrina, donde el número de fiestas y celebraciones se incrementan. Aunado a esto, aumenta el número de personas quienes manejan en estado de ebriedad. El día de hoy hablaremos sobre este problema de los conductores borrachos, tanto hombres como mujeres. La ley dice que si una persona rebasa el 0.08% de alcohol en la sangre, legalmente está ebrio. Como todos sabemos o hemos experimentado, los borrachos somos necios y siempre decimos estoy bien, me siento bien y desafiamos todo y a todos. Entonces es cuando pedimos las llaves de nuestro automóvil para conducir. Sin conciencia y sin medir las consecuencias, los conductores ebrios provocan accidentes donde sus víctimas pierden la vida e, irónicamente, ellos logran sobrevivir. De acuerdo con la Agencia Federal de Seguridad en el Transporte National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, el número de accidentes automovilísticos con fatalidades y donde los conductores se dan a la fuga se incrementaron en un 13.7%. Estadísticas que corresponden al periodo entre los años 2009 y 2011. La mayoría de estos percances están relacionados con el alcohol. Recuerdo el caso del joven de 22 años del estado de Ohio, quien después de verse envuelto en un accidente realizó un video donde decía que había matado a un hombre. Esta declaración la subió a la red cibernética de YouTube y hasta la fecha, 2.5 millones de personas han escuchado este testimonio. Más adelante se lo vamos a mostrar. También le vamos a presentar los casos de 2 mujeres atropelladas y muertas por esta clase de conductores ebrios. Estas fatalidades ocurrieron en una ciudad llamada Coachella, la cual se encuentra localizada al este del centro turístico de Palm Springs. En el primero de los casos, una joven de 25 años de edad de nombre Selena Nava fue arrollada el pasado 20 de octubre. Ella y una amiga se encontraban corriendo en una avenida. Eran alrededor de las 7 de la noche cuando un sospechoso de conducir tomado las atropelló. Una de ellas perdió la vida. El conductor fue identificado como José Alfredo Jiménez, de 55 años de edad. Fue arrestado. Durante su primera audiencia se declaró inocente. Su fianza fue fijada en $1 millón. Este caso llamó la atención de líderes políticos y las autoridades policíacas, quienes en días posteriores a la fatalidad convocaron a una conferencia de prensa precisamente para crear conciencia, para prevenir estas atrocidades y también para invitar a la gente para que el próximo 7 de diciembre participen en un evento donde serán recordados todos aquellos quienes han perdido la vida a manos de un conductor ebrio. El segundo de los casos que le presentaremos el día de hoy es el de una madre quien también fue atropellada y muerta enfrente de su casa. La señora llevaba por nombre Celia Cárdenas. Sus hijas estuvieron presentes en esa conferencia de prensa, la cual le mencioné previamente. Esa fatalidad ocurrió el 24 de noviembre del año pasado. Las hijas de la Oxisa me comentaron que después de la muerte de su madre, la ciudad mandó arreglar el alumbrado público, hablaron con las autoridades, pero nunca les daban respuestas. Están frustradas ya que la conductora quien atropelló a su mamá fue puesta en libertad al solamente depositar una fianza de $5,000. Ellas nunca vieron un abogado. Ese día me manifestaron su impotencia ante la falta de atención al caso de su madre. Tuvo que haber pasado otra muerte en esa ciudad para comenzar esa campaña de crear conciencia sobre la peligrosidad de esta clase de conductores. En los primeros segmentos le presentaré su testimonio. Asimismo, le digo que hablé con el alcalde de esa ciudad, le pregunté sobre la eficacia de los retenes de sobriedad, mejor conocidos como checkpoints. Tendremos también la presencia en el estudio de una representante de la organización conocida como MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, Madres en contra de los conductores ebrios. Lo invito para que se quede con nosotros. Ya volvemos a Foro Más Latino.
Ya regresamos a Foro Más Latino. Continuamos con Foro Más Latino.
En este segmento le presento algunas declaraciones de las amigas de Selena Nava, quien muriera por un conductor borracho. Le digo que ella trabajaba en un hospital Eisenhower en la ciudad de Rancho Mirage. En este segmento incluimos la declaración del doctor, quien elaboró una página en Facebook a la cual le dio el nombre de Shutdown Drunk Driving. Y en los primeros días le digo que esta página recibió más de 2,000 aprobaciones. Aquí también están las palabras del hermano de Selena Nava. Quiero decirle que algunas entrevistas están en inglés. Escuchemos con atención.
How did you know Selena?
Selena was one of my coworkers and one of my very dear friends.
What was your reactions once you find out that she passed away because of the drunk driver?
I was extremely, extremely upset. She was such a bright, beautiful woman, and it is an extremely big loss. She blessed us all. Her smile would just brighten up a room whenever she came in the room. So I love her dearly, and I miss her every day.
What do you think that should be done about this situation that drunk drivers?
The gentleman should pay for his crime. It's not fair. It's not fair that she was taken, her life was taken at such a young age because of somebody's choice to get in a car after drinking alcohol. Just make sure that anybody that, if they choose to drink and drive and, this happens, that they need to pay for their crime. They need to suffer the consequences when you make a mistake, and this is a very large mistake. This was not their first drinking and driving, and so, they need to pay the consequences if they choose to get in the car.
Do you think that they have to increase the sentence for those people, even though they're big sentences right now? If you make a crime like that, they have $10,000, but put more time in jail?
Yes, absolutely. I worked with Selena, and I miss her dearly. She was a great friend, and I will never forget her. I think the sentence is too light. We need to stand together as a community and see what we can do.
What's the purpose of us being here? Well, we want to impact lives because that's what Selena was doing. We want to save lives, and that's why we want to get the awareness out there. We're trying to coordinate an event, whether it be a walk, whether it be a silent stand. This event is likely to occur the first week of December, and as Attorney Rabeau mentioned, MAD is going to be sponsoring, or at least supporting and being involved in this event, and we want a big turnout, and so spread the word. The purpose of this event is to honor victims, not just Selena, but all victims of this senseless act we call driving under the influence, and to promote greater public awareness and to promote public responsibility. We have to be responsible, and at the end of the day, when we're getting behind the wheel under the influence, we're not very responsible. And it could be someone else's daughter, someone else's son, someone's mother or father, and since I've been in the desert over a year and a half, two of my work families, so to speak, have been affected, either directly, in Selena's case, or indirectly. Last Thanksgiving, somebody that I know very well Eisenhower lost her mother to this stupid act that just needs to end. And so that's why let's rally together as a community and let's make this event happen. Again, the tentative date is December 7th, and whether it be a walk, whether it be a silent stand on 111, let's just make it happen, and let's pave the way towards drastically reducing or eliminating DUIs and driving drunk.
¿Cómo recuerda a su hermana, señor Nava?
Como una persona siempre contenta, siempre pensando en los demás antes que ella, y le gustaban mucho los niños.
¿Qué quería hacer ella? ¿En qué quería estudiar?
Pues ella trabajaba en el hospital y le gustaba ayudar a las personas mayores, a cualquier persona que estaba en el hospital. Incluso recibió ella un certificado esa misma semana que falleció, de alguien que había recomendado que la había cuidado muy bien.
¿Qué pide la familia contra el conductor? ¿Qué es lo que ustedes están pidiendo?
Pues ahorita pues no, nos ha recomendado de no decir comentarios acerca de eso, pero pues uno tiene que enfrentar las consecuencias de nuestras malas decisiones.
¿Usted ya ha ido a la corte, ya ha visto al señor que le quitó la vida a su hermana?
Sí, el miércoles después del incidente.
¿Ha visto alguna serie, alguna señal de arrepentimiento por su parte del señor?
Quizás sí he visto, pero pues es difícil aceptar eso ahorita en este tiempo tan pues todavía es fresco en nuestra memoria, pero todos tenemos que enfrentar las consecuencias de nuestras acciones.
La primera semana de diciembre se va a hacer un evento para recordar a su hermana. ¿Qué tan importante es para la familia que se realice esto?
Es importante porque queremos pues que las personas estén conscientes de lo peligroso que es conducir bajo la influencia de alcohol o cualquier otra droga, y queremos pues hacerlo también pues en memoria de mi hermana, pero también de otras víctimas inocentes que han morido debido a conducir bajo la influencia del alcohol.
El evento para recordar a todas las víctimas de los conductores ebrios, le reitero, será el 7 de diciembre en la región del Valle de Coachella. Tentativamente se está hablando de una cadena humana donde la gente se colocará a lo largo de la carretera conocida como 111. Se piensa que esta cadena atravesará por 3 ciudades en el área de Palm Springs, California. Vamos a unos mensajes, pero ya regresamos a Foro Más Latino. Gracias por continuar con nosotros. Ahora en este segmento le presento el caso de una señora quien fue arrollada enfrente de su casa. Eso también se registró en la ciudad de Coachella, California. Esta mujer llevaba por nombre Celia Cárdenas Miranda, tenía 63 años de edad. Como le dije al principio, esta fatalidad ocurrió el 24 de noviembre del año pasado. La responsable, una mujer ebria, se encuentra en libertad. Le digo que su fianza fue de $5,000. Por su parte, las hijas de la oxisa nunca vieron un abogado. Esa entrevista la realicé precisamente el día en que se realizó la conferencia de prensa para crear conciencia sobre los conductores ebrios.
Mi mamá murió va a ser un año el 24 de noviembre, después del día del turkey. Mi mamá la atropelló una persona borracha. La atropelló, pasó arriba de ella y la mató.
¿Dónde fue esto?
Esto fue en la avenida 49, en Coachella.
¿Y usted lo reportó a las autoridades? ¿Qué le dijeron las autoridades?
Bueno, eso es lo que estamos esperando. Hasta hoy en día no hemos escuchado a las autoridades. Mi hermana va cada mes a preguntar qué está pasando con el caso y hasta hoy en día nunca está la persona en cargo, nunca.
¿Habló con el alcalde de la ciudad de Coachella?
No, desafortunadamente nosotros no tenemos esa posibilidad de tan cerca a estar a él, ¿verdad? Porque pues somos unos simples mortales. Aquí porque el doctor Fargo hizo todo esto y claro, a él es un doctor, lo van a escuchar.
¿Con quién habló usted?
¿De ahorita?
Sí, anteriormente, ¿con quién habló acerca de que su mamá le había asesinado a un conductor borracho?
Pues con el policía.
¿Y el señor que mató a su mamá está en la cárcel, lo sentenciaron o dónde está?
Es una señora y desgraciadamente costó $5,000 la vida de mi mamá. Ella está libre.
¿Hicieron un juicio? ¿Usted vio un abogado?
todavía no está nada porque supuestamente están investigando, pero no han investigado nada porque las personas que fueron testigas hasta hoy en día no las han llamado para dar su declaración.
¿Su mamá qué se dedicaba?
Mi mamá era ama de casa, abuelita, madre, esposa y bisabuela.
¿Cómo fue el caso? ¿Fue la culpa de su mamá o cómo saben ustedes que el conductor iba tomado?
Porque, bueno, sabemos que el conductor iba, no nada más tomado, iba drogado también, iba drogada, tomada, iba en el celular y a alta velocidad, más aparte, quiso rebasar del lado derecho, o sea, en la calle es ida y vuelta, ella quiso rebasar en el tercer lado.
Ya escuchó usted, drogada, tomada y alta velocidad. Le digo que la supuesta responsable de esta fatalidad no tenía seguro de conducir. Sin embargo, los familiares están viendo la posibilidad de entablar un reclamo contra la ciudad, aunque de acuerdo con una representante paralegal, cualquier caso contra una entidad gubernamental, ya sean escuelas, ciudades o agencias federales, el reclamo se tiene que realizar en los primeros 6 meses. De otra forma, ya no procede. Esa familia está exigiendo que sean colocados unos topes en esa avenida donde murió su madre, ya que se teme que se registren otras fatalidades. Por el momento, y de acuerdo con el alcalde Eduardo García, el ingeniero de esa ciudad está realizando un estudio para determinar la viabilidad de la obra. Por otro lado, quiero decirle que personalmente el alcalde me informó sobre la colocación de un anuncio donde se indique el límite máximo de velocidad en esa avenida. Asimismo, sobre el establecimiento de líneas que alerten a los conductores que ellos se encuentran manejando en un camino de 2 carriles y no de 4. Estaremos al pendiente de que se realicen estas obras y estos detalles que nos informó el alcalde de esa ciudad. Vamos a unos comerciales, pero ya volvemos a Foro Más Latino. Gracias por continuar con nosotros en Foro Más Latino. Now I'm going to switch and I'm going to speak English. I'm going to introduce Virginia Gutierrez. She works for the MAT, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, that is in San Bernardino.
Yes.
Welcome, Mrs. Gutierrez, to this show. And I would like to ask you about how long you've been in this MAT organization.
I've been with MAD for almost 30 years.
What happened? Why did you get involved in MAT?
The reason why I got involved with MAD is in 1978, my younger brother Lorenzo was killed by a wrong-way driver on the freeway. She wanted to kill herself. So she was killed, my brother was killed. He left behind, he was sole custody of his 2 little girls, so he left behind a 2-year-old and a 10-month-old baby, which my mother raised. 5 years later, my son was coming home from visiting a friend on his bicycle when a repeat offender was drinking and snorting coke, drove through a 4-way stop, dragging my son's body 80 feet. At impact, my son was brain dead. And we had to make that choice. After a few hours, we had to go ahead and disconnect life support on my son, which is very, very hard for a parent to have to do, make that choice. I mean, they're supposed to bury you, you're not supposed to bury them. Went to court. There was no MAD in the county of San Bernardino, so I did not know what to expect. And to my surprise, the man who killed my son was only given 1 year in the county jail, and he served 3 months. After 3 months, he was released, and he was sent back to where he came from, which was Indiana, because there was threats on his life. My son's friends were devastated by what happened in the court. That's when I started Mothers Against Drunk Driving, when I was in therapy, because people don't realize when this happens to us, we still have to go back to work. We have a family we have to raise, and you really couldn't leave me alone for much time because I would start crying because I missed my son. And so while in therapy, I was asked if I knew about Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Well, in 1983-84, I didn't know about MAD. So she gave me the name of a CHP officer, Ruben Rios, who wanted to start this organization in the largest county in the United States. So we worked at it very, very hard, and then in 1996, my friend Ruben was directing traffic after an Ozzy Osbourne concert when he was hit and killed by a repeat offender. So when I tell my story, I always tell people, I've lost a brother, I've lost a son, and I've lost a dear friend. Am I mad? Absolutely. Do I want it to stop? Yes, today if possible. but little by little, people are understanding where Matt is coming from. If you are 21, we really are not against drinking. We're just against drinking and then driving. We always tell people, get your designated drivers.
How many
Don't-
members does Matt have?
Matt has over 2 million members across the nation, and they have over 600 affiliates. And that include, well, that's just the United States. We are also in Guam, Puerto Rico, Australia, United Kingdom, and Japan.
I know that you're familiar with this case in Coachella Valley about Selena Nava. Did they invite you to this event that's going to happen December 7th? Or how did you find out about this? Yeah.
Actually, I talked to Mad Riverside, and they said they are going to be there. They're going to have a booth. They're going to try and educate. Because at this point, we, Mad, cannot really discuss the case because we don't want to jeopardize it because it's still, it has not been adjudicated.
I'm going to ask you to hold a little bit to your interview, Mrs. Gutierrez. We're going to keep talking about this case about Selena Nava
Okay.
because I had a chance to interview the mayor from Coachella
Okay.
and also the police chief from Coachella and also the lawyer because she has a lawyer at this time. Continuando con este caso de la joven Selena Nava, ahora le presento una entrevista con el alcalde de Coachella, quien habla sobre la importancia de esa conferencia de prensa, así también de los retenes de sobriedad y sobre el peligro que representan estos conductores ebrios.
We are here because the community has asked us to gather today to honor and commemorate the life of Selena Nava, but at the same time to bring greater awareness to the problem of drinking and driving throughout the Coachella Valley. As it was mentioned earlier, in the state of California, drinking and driving under the influence has gone up close to 30%. This is a serious problem that's killing very many innocent people here in our community.
Do you have numbers, statistics in Coachella particularly?
We don't, but we do know that over the course of the last year, we've had quite a few deaths related to drinking and driving where young people have lost their lives. And I think that resonates with a lot of people. Too many mothers, fathers, and kids are not coming home because of an innocent act on their part and a senseless act on the part of someone driving under the influence.
Setting the checkpoints, does checkpoints work for the city of Coachella?
Checkpoints work to the degree that you're able to deter drivers who are drinking and ultimately keep people home if they are drinking. We also see a decrease in the amount of traffic collisions in the city as a result of the checkpoints.
What would you tell to the people that said that they're scared undocumented because they have no driver license and they could be victims of being deported?
That in the city of Coachella and in Riverside County, that law enforcement agents allow people who don't have a driver's license to call someone to pick up their vehicle, as well as starting in 2015, those individuals will have a driver's license which will have absolutely nothing to fear of as a result of that.
What can we expect in the future for the police to decrease or to diminish the number of drunk drivers?
The expectation is on the community. The expectation is that people become more socially conscious and responsible, that when they're going to drink, that they're not going to drive. Law enforcement, government has a very small part in this big picture problem. It's us as individuals who have a bigger role in making sure that we do not go out there and harm people if driving under the influence.
Any campaign to create alert about the drunken and driving by the city of Coachella?
The campaign is going to be led by Shut Down Drunk Driving, and we're going to support them.
How does that work?
Shut Down Drunk Driving is a grassroots organization that has started on Facebook with close to 3,000 people following their initiative, and we're going to support them with their ideas, their suggestions, and how to implement greater awareness in our community.
Besides that, radio, television, newspaper?
We are hoping that the communication outlets will also join this campaign to make sure that they're bringing greater awareness.
Dándole seguimiento a este caso de Selena Nava, también tuve la oportunidad de hablar con el jefe del departamento del sheriff en el Valle de Coachella.
What are some of the things that you're gonna do to shut down drinking and driving?
Well, the Sheriff's Department has a long-standing effort towards driving under the influence. We have a close relationship with MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Myself, I was traffic sergeant, traffic lieutenant, and so we've had a good working history of combating driving under the influence, but there's always more that we can do. As I first read the story about this young lady, it struck me as tragic, but it also struck me as how unnecessary this is. It doesn't have to happen.
I spoke to that lawyer, Mr. Grebo, about the drunk driving, and he said that the Riverside County is one of the highest with this problem. Do you know why is it like that?
I don't actually know that that's the case. I do know what our efforts are and how much effort and time we put into combating drunk driving. I'm not sure what statistics he's actually talking about, but we've been pretty successful with working with OTS on checkpoints, looking for drunk drivers, and our individual efforts such as proactive patrol. Matter of fact, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department yearly, on an annual basis, receives awards from MAD for our efforts against drunk driving.
How many checkpoints annually do you do, particularly in Coachella?
In Coachella, I'd have to ask the chief of police, but I think it's somewhere around 10 or 11. And I'd have to get exact figures for him, but I believe it's somewhere in that neighborhood.
Did you have any idea how many arrests because of drunk driving in those checkpoints?
In those checkpoints, they average, they're different. I mean, I was the chief of police at Moreno Valley, for instance, and you could have, a dozen arrests, and then some nights you might only have one, and it just depended on, the location, because we try to move those around and make sure that we address different areas of the city where that can be an issue. And so you don't know what you're going to end up with, but I've always felt like even if you only got one, who knows what you might have prevented. The more, probably the better. However, the more is a little concerning that there's that many people out there. When you make a dozen arrests at a checkpoint for driving under the influence, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. We're getting closer to the Christmas season. Most people, they like to drink because of the Christmas the season. Mm-hmm. Are you planning to increase the checkpoints because of that?
Well, we'll not only we'll have checkpoints as we do every year, but we'll also have roving patrols. We'll have a form of education. We'll put out public service announcements asking people to, not drive, to get a designated driver, that sort of thing. So that's the time of year. New Year's is another time of year that anytime there's celebrations, we get concerned that there'll be excessive drinking. So we really ask people to be responsible and designate somebody to drive. If they just choose to celebrate, that's their right, but you don't have the right to drink and get in a car and drive and endanger others.
Con respecto al abogado de la familia Nava, este señor me enfatizó sobre la responsabilidad de los conductores ebrios y también sobre la compensación monetaria que se puede pedir por este caso.
Do you have statistics about how many people die because drunk drivers here in the Riverside County?
I don't have a statistic, but I can tell you there are more drunk driving deaths here in the Coachella Valley than anywhere else in the country, not just California, in the country. And that's per capita. Because we have a smaller population, the number is staggering.
Why? Do you have any reasons why here at the Coachella Valley?
My personal theory is that we're a resort. People come here to relax, and when you come to relax, you have a tendency to party and drink and forget that you could have the same driving under the influence issue as you would in your home state.
About drinking and driving, if we can divide it by races, African American, Hispanics, and Anglos, do we have percentage of that?
I'm not privy to that. I don't know if we have percentage. I just know that we have too many, and in part, it's because people think you have to be drunk. The law is driving under the influence, and we have a tendency to just refer to it as drunk driving, and people say, well, I wasn't drunk. And as a lawyer who also defends drunk driving, clients come in all the time saying, but I only had one drink, or I only had two drinks.
I have met people that they keep repeating the same. they drunk drivers and they keep doing the same. What do you think should be done about, because we have sentenced $10,000, we have put in jail, but they're coming back and do it again. What do you think as a lawyer should be changed?
I think there should be rehab programs for people that are habitual drunk drivers, and I think that during their period of probation, which is usually 3 to 5 years, they should have to come back every year and do a refresher rehab program, because we all slip. I can say today I'm going on a diet and have every intent, and by Saturday night when I go to a party and they have great desserts, all of a sudden I'm off my diet. And I think people who drink have the same tendency. They mean well, and then there's somewhere where they have, okay, I'll just have one drink, and one leads to two, which leads to four. And one of the biggest issues is people talk about how many drinks they had. They don't talk about the amount of alcohol in the drink, and that's what's important. You can have one drink, but if there are 8 ounces in it, that's equal to 8 drinks.
Particularly about this case, what are you looking for it?
Well, we're looking for justice for the Selena Nava family and for both of the girls that were involved in this terrible accident. Selena looked so much like my daughter, but for the grace of God, it could have been my child. And none of us want to lose a family friend. Obviously, they're entitled to be compensated for their loss. We don't yet know what that's going to be, but whatever it is, we'll do the best to make them whole.
Al regresar a Foro Más Latino, continuaré esta conversación con la representante de la organización MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, la señora Virginia Gautier. Ya regresamos a este programa de televisión. Thank you for joining us once again. We're talking about drunk driving, and we have with us Virginia Gautier. She is from MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I want to clarify. It's Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Thank you very much, Mrs. Gautier. We were talking about this very sad story from this young lady, 25 years old, and many others that have passed away. You mentioned before about your son, your friend, and your brother that were killed by the drunk drivers. Have you seen the diminish? Have you seen that because of MAD, the numbers of drunk drivers has
come down?
Less?
Yes, it has. As a matter of fact, I was watching the interview with the deputy, with the police department.
Okay.
And in Chino, we have what we call our law enforcement awards, which he had mentioned. And Chino one year said, well, we're not going to be there because we only have X amount of drunk driving. It's dropped. I says, well, that's awesome because of the sobriety checkpoints. Chino, their police department, theirs has dropped. So no, we honor all departments, whether it's 2 DUIs or 200. You know, you're out there, you're doing our job. And because of sobriety checkpoints, yes, they are going down. And like Matt has said many times, we're not against the drinking, we're just against the driving. And so we do really emphasize designated drivers.
Then you're in favor of checkpoints.
Oh,
because there's some
absolutely.
people that they're against because they say about the liberty. And also they said, mostly undocumented population, that they mentioned it, that there is an excuse to find out that they have no driver's license into the port then.
Right.
By one side you have that they're looking for drunk drivers, by the other side you have they're looking for undocumented people.
Right. Well, not really undocumented, but those that don't have licenses, if they don't have insurances, if there's bench warrants out for their arrest. So it kind of covers everything. In some states, all they can do, the officers, is check for drunk driving. That's it. Nothing else. But here in the state of California, it's different depending on the county that you're in, you know. And sometimes, like the officer said, you may only have 12 arrests, 12 drunk drivers, but they'll get hundreds that come through, you know, and at that point, well, that's when they're checking for insurance also and driver's license. And, but the main thing for the sobriety checkpoints is that, you know, and if they advertise it, people know, okay, I can't go out tonight because they're going to be out there somewhere.
That
and
risk,
that risk, yes, and it's in it, you know, and if you are coming up to it and you make a U-turn, oh yes, they are going to follow you. So it is important that not just that particular day, but every day, you know, just make sure that one person remains sober. So, and you know, some restaurants will give that one person a free meal. Most bars will say, if you tell them, I am the designated driver, they will give you all the free non-alcoholic beverages you want that night because they know you're taking everybody home that night.
That's a good thing too.
Yeah,
Designated drivers.
Yes, and they'll put a set of keys in a cup, and that's to tell all the waitresses, this person is going to be responsible for everyone else because they want you to come back. The taverns want you to come back. The restaurants want you to come back. If you can get someone to get everyone home safely, we're going to reward you by giving you a free meal or all the free non-alcoholic beverages that you want that evening.
And besides that, in our friends, we have a celebration because we throw away, we are number one to throw parties.
Well, that's
and we celebrate
right,
big.
and that's the thing that we have a problem with in our culture. Okay, in the Latino community, quinceañeras. Okay, they're having them hand over fist, which means 15. Does not mean 21. But when you go to a quinceañera, guess what you see? Beer kegs, beer in ice chests. You know, I'm thinking, wait a minute, 15. And you know what? In the county of San Bernardino, one person wanted to have a quinceañera, and everywhere she went to have the party, they said, and that includes the beer. And it was making her very angry. She goes, wait a minute, my daughter's only 15. She went to the city of Fontana because she was so upset. And they did have a quinceañera, no alcohol was served, not even to the adults, and everyone had so much fun. It can be done.
It could be done.
It can
I'm
be
going to
done.
invite you to watch a video that was created by this guy from Ohio State. This gentleman was involved in a case because of him, there was a driver that lost his life. And I want to share with you, maybe you have seen this video, but I just want to tell you that this video has been seen for 2.5 million people that he put it in YouTube.
I killed a man. I was out with some friends. We were all drinking really heavily. Just hopping from bar to bar. Just trying to have a good time, and I lost control. You know, sometimes I drink because I have depression that I struggle with every day. And I just drink to get out of my head for a few hours. You know, I really don't like the person I become when I drink. I've ruined relationships in the past. I start fights. You know, I just generally become a person that people don't like being around. On that particular night, I made a mistake and got in my truck. Completely blacked out and decided to try to drive home. I ended up going the wrong way down the highway, directly into oncoming traffic, and I struck a car. I killed a man. Immediately following that, I consulted some high-powered attorneys who told me stories about similar cases where the drivers got off. They were convinced that they could get my blood test thrown out, and all I would have to do for that was lie. Well, I won't go down that path.
My name is Matthew Cordell, and on June 22nd, 2013, I hit and killed Vincent Canzani. This video will act as my confession. When I get charged, I will plead guilty and take full responsibility for everything I've done to Vincent and his family. If I took a different route, maybe I would get a reduced sentence and maybe I would get off. But I won't dishonor Vincent's memory by lying about what happened. By releasing this video, I know exactly what it means. I'm handing the prosecution everything they need to put me away for a very long time. But I'm willing to take that sentence for just one reason, and that reason is so I can pass this message on to you. I beg you, and I say the word beg specifically, I'm begging you, please don't drink and drive. Don't make the same excuses that I did. Don't say it's only a few miles, or you've only had a few beers, or you do it all the time, it'll never happen to you, because it happened to me. And all of those are just excuses to make yourself feel better about a decision that you know is wrong and could cost lives. I can't bring Mr. Canzani back, and I can't erase what I've done. But you can still be saved. Your victims can still be saved. So please.
Before that, I asked a reaction to Virginia Gutierrez about this video. I just have to tell you that this gentleman was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. Should be short, should be long. Any sentence couldn't revive the person that he killed. What's your reaction, Mrs. Gutierrez, about this video that this gentleman, a very young person, killed another person, and then he made this video to create conscience about don't drink and drive?
Well, you know what? When I go to court, I don't like hearing them say that it was an accident and they're not guilty, when you know they are. And I think that more like this need to take the responsibility so others can say, you know what, you're right, I did murder somebody. I mean, the only thing different between a gun and a car is the car's larger, but you kill someone. And I'm glad that he did this, and I want others to see this, you need to own up to your responsibilities. No, it's not going to bring back the gentleman that he killed. However, every day when this young man wakes up and sees these bars, he's going to remember what he did. Just like when the family wakes up every single day and they see the bed empty, they're going to be reminded the rest of their lives.
What's your take about the lawyers who he mentioned in his testimonial that he said the lawyers told me to do this and I'm not going to follow that direction?
Well, you know what? I'm really glad he did that, because sometimes, people like you and I cannot afford expensive attorneys. Movie stars, actors, people with money, they get the best justice money can buy. And it just infuriates me, whether it's someone like you and I or someone like a movie star. You murdered someone. You need to go to jail for this.
Then the defense lawyers have to do something with this.
Yes.
That they defending criminals.
Right, they are.
Drunk drivers.
Right, exactly. And people think of it as, oh, well, it was just an accident. This is why Matt is constantly correcting people. No, it's not an accident. You chose to drink, you chose to drive, you got in that car, you loaded the weapon, you murdered somebody. Just like the man who killed my son. If the man had put a gun to my son's head, he would have seen many, many years. But because his weapon of choice was a vehicle, 1 year in the county jail, which to me is nothing compared with the life sentence. My son was only 18 when this happened. He should be in his late 40s now. I should be a grandmother. The day I buried my son, I buried my grandchildren that I'll never have. That's what this man did to us.
Did you have a chance to face the driver that killed your friend, your brother, and
well, the driver that killed my friend, we were in court with him, and he was sentenced.
What was his reaction? Did he apologize? Did he mention something?
They're never allowed to. No, they're never. Offenders are never allowed to get close to the family. They're never allowed to apologize to the family, because this is what defense attorneys tell them: stay away from the families. Only one time I've seen that happen. It was when someone had killed a young woman. His family came up to the other family and gave them a hug and apologized, and that we're so sorry that our son did this to you. But it was after the case was over.
In this case, this gentleman from Ohio, he was sentenced only 6.5 years. Did you think that they needed to make long sentences?
It should be a lot stiffer. Okay, I know that in Georgia, this woman killed 5 children. They were at a birthday party. She got a year of probation.
Why did this happen?
I think it's because the woman, the young girl who did this, her dad was the sheriff of that particular county. So he managed to get her 1 year, which I cannot believe the families would accept that. If that had happened in the state of California, Mad California would have jumped in there, and that woman would never see the light of day. We would have made sure she got 15 years for every single life she took, times 15 times 5. That's what she would have received. But in different states, Mad's not as strong, and they're very surprised when we manage to get someone 15 years to life.
Thank
in
you,
the state of
Mrs.
California.
Gutierrez. We have to take another break. When we
Okay.
come back, we're going to talk about this campaign, Mad Mothers Against Drunk Driving. We're going to talk about, because it's very important, if they got people driving under the influence of DUI, they can pay until $15,000, $15,649. That will be only the fine, but also you could lose your job, your life, or kill somebody. I'll be right back. We're talking about drunk drivers, and we have with us Mrs. Gutierrez from MAD organization, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And before the commercials, I was telling about this, the fines for those people that they got under DUI conviction, and I was telling you about $15,649 just because of the sentence. Can you imagine $15,649? And this is a campaign. Besides these brochures that you have, Mrs. Gutierrez, what else are you doing as a public service to create conscience about those drunk drivers?
We go to high schools and we educate. We go to businesses and we educate. Wherever the need is, we're there. Even though we cover 22,000 square miles, this county, this chapter, we go as far east as Needles, as far north as Trona, Chino. We do it all. All we waited just for the phone call, and there we go.
When you find a person that has been convicted or is facing a DUI conviction, what did you tell them?
Well, sometimes, and I really wish our judges in the county of San Bernardino would do this, send them to our victim impact panels. That's when we get families that say, look, this is what happened to us. You have a second chance. Don't do it again. And when they attend our class or our victim impact panel, they will come to us in tears, they will hug us, and they'll say, I didn't even realize what I could do to a family. No one has told me in all these classes that I've taken how I can destroy a family's life. So we're even educating the drunk drivers. We're doing that, and they're devastated. They can't even imagine, because we try and put them into what we've had to go through. And I tell them, we don't make payments like the court tells you, pay this, pay that in payments. No, we've got to come up with the money for the mortician right then and there. We got to go down the cemetery and pay for that plot right then and there. There's no payments. We have to come up with a minimum of $8,000 that we weren't even expected to come up with, where the drunk driver can do it in payments. The judge will say, we're going to have you pay $50 a month until you have this fine paid off. It doesn't happen for us.
And we have another problem for the undocumented people. Sometimes they can be deported, but before they have to do their sentence in jail or some place and pay the fine.
Right.
That would be worse.
But we tell the families that this happened to, that there is funding there. If you're from Mexico and you want to bury your loved one in Mexico, there is funding there where they'll fly the body and someone to accompany the body back home so you can bury your loved one. The district attorney has the funding available for that. It's called Victim Assistance Program.
We don't have much time, Mrs. Gutierrez, but I wish that you come back and talk more about this situation because it's a big problem. Tell us, please, your number or any web page where people can find out more about MAD.
You can contact us. Our phone number is 909-888-6233. And it's a lot easier to remember if you say 909-888-MAD. Anytime you contact MAD, most of the numbers end in 6233, which means MAD. Or you can email us at sanbernardino.ca@mad.org. And we are there Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and we try and answer all our calls.
What will be your message in 30 seconds for those people that they're thinking during this Christmas season to drink and drive?
Well, the thing is this, exactly. That's exactly it. If you are going to drink, plan ahead. Just like we're going to go to El Torito, we're going to have dinner, we're going to get drunk. Okay, fine. Who's going to drive us home? So plan ahead, as all Matt is saying. Get your designated driver, and remember not to drink and drive.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Gutierrez.
And Gautier, yes.
Gautier is a French.
Yes, French.
Thank you so much for being with us in Foro Más Latino. I'm going to switch it again. Recuerde que las celebraciones de la Navidad están a la vuelta de la esquina. El número de personas ebrias detrás del volante se incrementa. Si usted está en un evento o en una fiesta y hay gente tomando, no permita que maneje. usted haría una gran diferencia al impedir que este hombre o mujer llegara a provocar una fatalidad. Todos podemos poner de nuestra parte para que estas tragedias no se repitan y mientras no se pongan sentencias más severas contra los conductores ebrios, seguirán actuando de una manera negligente, causando muertes en las carreteras. Con la conciencia de que todos somos responsables, actuemos unidos y evitemos más muertes a manos de los conductores borrachos. Las sentencias severas y drásticas, le reitero, no revivirán a las víctimas, pero retomemos esa frase que dice, más vale prevenir que lamentar. De parte de un servidor Marcos Palma y de todos los que hacemos posible este programa Foro Más Latino, gracias por su atención y su confianza. Con permiso.